Hey there, Stephanie Joy with All Things Social Security and the Law Practice of Joy Disability. Here's a short little segment from our recent live stream Q&A that we have every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel, All Things Social Security. Enjoy, and if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments, and I will be sure to get to them. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.
Mephisto, I understand not taking on a young person's case because you likely would not win and get paid. That's not entirely it, but obviously that is a factor. And we do take young people's cases. I just took one last week. Could the opposite be true with an over 50 person winning so cool that you don't get paid? Oh yeah, for sure. That's why some practitioners, attorneys, and non-attorney reps will either one, not take a case of an over 50 person unless and until they are denied twice and have to go to hearing, because then I know there's a little bit of time. That if they clinch it, it might go all the way back and give them a bigger fee, even though they weren't there at the time. And then some people slow walk it. Like, let's say it's an over 50 person who hasn't filed yet. They'll just like have them do almost everything. They don't really review stuff. They just let them send in your function report, or, send it here, we'll send it in, but they don't do any kind of workup with the person or their information to make sure that they were responsive to the question and didn't forget certain things that the attorney already knows from if he asks prior questions, which we do. We have a whole packet on that. We get a lot of information when we first get a client. They have quite a bit of paperwork to do, but it's all because then we are going to have all this kind of locked down. We have all the information, that everything is going to be cross-referenced, and then we can really help them put the best answers that show the story in the function report. Say it was the function report. Same is true of the work history report. That one might even be more important, particularly for over 50. I've never seen someone do their work history report without at least one really bad error that can, in and of itself, kill the case in the end. So I've never done it this way, so I can't really. I find it to be troubling, but I don't think it's the norm now that we have far more practitioners than we did, 20-something years ago when I started. I might have been I felt like I was the only one that did it. I think more practitioners now, particularly smaller practices, solos and very small, because they're just more organized and more focused on each case. They're not really volume driven like a factory, and they tend, not everybody, I think it's something to ask them, tend to maybe be more hands-on, gather the data, ask the claimant certain questions, get the information, then help, whether it's they're typing it for them or whatever they're doing with their answers, and then fleshing out any other clarifying needs from that information that might seem a little wonky. I think that might be more common now. Maybe it's just my impression. I'm not sure, but I feel like with more people practicing, you get your bad ones, but there's at least more good, more diligent ones that work hands-on from the beginning and do try to win on initial and recon. And yeah, of course, the sooner we win, the smaller the fee, generally speaking. But I feel like that is what you sign up for, and ethically, I don't feel like anyone has a choice but to do that. People make a different choice, but I just don't think it's an ethical thing to do. Goodness knows there's going to be plenty of denials on initial and recon despite the most robust workup. We know that. So if you're handling your cases right and you're winning all or nearly all of your cases, does it matter that some are smaller fee than the other? There's going to be other ones that are, you're working on for 3 years and you're going to full fee, So I think if you do the right thing, it all comes out in the wash and it all turns out just fine. That has been my experience. So, and I could say that with 2000% certainty. So I'd like to see people be more diligent on this side of the fence and know that it's doable. You just have to be organized and ethical. William S. from Montana. We got 2 Montana people in here. Hi, William. Old Grizz is from Montana also, right? Old Grizz. Kosher says, winning quickly doesn't determine fee. Fee is based on backpack. Yes, but what you're missing, Kosher, is that the alleged onset date is kind of like carved in stone. You don't know what the established onset date is going to be. It could be, the back pay is going to vary. And think about it. If the case goes on forever, you have a better chance of getting a bigger fee if even if the case doesn't get to win on its alleged onset date. So what they're doing is they're covering their butt on cases that don't win back when the person thought they should win, but win at a later date. Now the representative who has, made the case take longer, or not assisted it in taking shorter, might be the better way to put it, has now gotten a bigger fee that perhaps had they done this work, it would have won right here. Like, so here's their alleged their established onset date, and here is, pardon me, that's my phone. Here's their the date it's decided. It's there's less than 5 months between. There's no fee for the rep. But if he had let it, if he had just maybe done a little less, and then time went out to here, he'd get all this time. You follow? So winning quickly does definitely make a difference. It's just a matter of math. But there's other factors, and I think that's what you're getting to. I've won cases quickly and had a full payout. Like a 3-month case, and boom, and that's awesome, because it helps compensate you for the ones that you spent 4 years on and got the same fee. But the reason why you're in a case for 3 months and you prevail is because if you're in on the application, you argued for this date way back here. If you knew from robust conversation with your client that everything started then, they were treating then, and they weren't working as when you figure out how far back you can go with that alleged onset date, that improves your chances of actually getting that alleged onset date. If you did something more slacky because you weren't asking the right questions and you had an onset date that was much closer in time, you just deprived them of that potential time period. So all these different things go into it. But I think if you just do the right job, do the best job for the client's sake, which includes an early win if need be, the representatives are going to be fine. They're going to be totally fine. Furry Plant says, oops, she's talking. Sorry, Kosher, you're talking to Furry Plant. La Rocha says, Stephanie, my hearing was canceled because it went to special processing case. The OHO sent me a letter and advised me by telephone when I called. Oh, so you called in for the phone hearing, right? But it says no rescheduling allowed, but it was the ALJ. So I'm not really sure where that's at then. That's weird. I've never seen that. It suddenly seemed to get really warm in here. So do you see my face getting red? It's really warm in here. I'm gonna have to turn the fan on at the very least. Chris is in the house. Chris K. Ludd. Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you. How long does it usually take to go from judgment to receiving back pay on average SSDI? And sounds like Chris is in Colorado. SSDI, it can be really fast. I have a feeling that my person that I just told you, we had the hearing, 10 days later, we got the decision, which kind of simultaneously goes to the payment office. I have a feeling she's already paid. So that's pretty amazing, right? We're still in the same month. That is usually not so slow. If it was a concurrent case, it takes a little longer because they do the SSI first, figure that out, then do the SSD. So I think that's usually how it works. Usually like within a month. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to turn on the fan. All right. Give me 1 second. Oops. Wait. Make the dog's bark. All right. I believe I started in here with a jacket on. Yes, indeed. Okay. Delia was in the house who said she could hear me. Hi, Delia. Roger, per above, Stephanie, letter says case being replaced by special processing SBC. Yeah, not sure. I'm not sure why, since you already had a hearing scheduled. Peter Thompson's in the house. Hi, Peter. I don't think we've met. Hello. Can CDRs be completed online instead of filling out those large forms they send in the mail? I don't know. Do they have it online yet? If so, is that the better option? Do they let you come in and out and think about things? Because well, I guess it depends what you're talking about the CDR. There's a lot of forms in a CDR. But if you're talking about, I think the initial, which is probably where they're asking for all your medical information, is that kind of like the 3368? So it's kind of akin to the medical portion of an application. I do it online. I don't know if it is online. They would tell you though in the letter, so I would just go with that. Again, CDRs, it's always on your side. Attorneys don't really handle those. Not ever. I have one right now, but 99.9% of the time, that is not what an attorney is going to be representing on. For a variety of reasons, including that, which is there's no way to get automatically paid when you win. So there is that little problem. Mephisto says, is chronic pain syndrome a recognized SSD diagnosis? All right, I'm going to say yes. However, I have not looked it up. And the reason why I'm going to say yes, Mephisto, so take this with a grain, is because I have seen it in ALJ decisions as determined medical MDIs, severe MDI. I always include it. I would say you never want it to be your only diagnosis because it is very subjective. It's like fibromyalgia, but it is fibromyalgia is a recognized SSD diagnosis. Basically, I would say anything that's recognized under the official medical establishment. I'm kind of giving an educated guess here. It is a diagnosis that they will accept. It's just a matter of proving how severe it is and if it prevents the person. Is it officially diagnosed in the way that it must be to be diagnosed under the rules of the medical profession, and or the SSA sometimes has certain things it wants to say. And does the medical record show that it would prevent the person from doing any job, even the most simple, easy, sedentary job that exists in substantial numbers in the economy? Hey, Shub is in the house. 8 likes and 46 watching. Come on, man, hit the button. He's right. Hit that button, guys. You tell me I need to tell you that. I should have something that blinks at you obnoxiously. I'm kidding. Oh, Kosher says, Shub, it doesn't update live. Hit refresh. I don't see it anyway, so I know. Mike Page says, hey, Mike. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, I mean. Yes, I do the same thing all the time. In fact, when I do my pre-recorded, well, I don't know what time people are going to be watching them, and I do them at all hours of the day. It really depends on what's going on. If something crops up quickly and it's one of those versus something that's more planned. My intro is usually good morning, afternoon, or evening, because I don't know what time people are watching. And sometimes I don't want to think about and look at the clock to determine which one it is here either. Mike Page said he could hear. Freda, who is a recent big winner, woo, as per last week, told us about it, right, guys? How long does it take to get SSDI back pay and monthly benefits? Well, I don't know if you heard what I just told the other fellow. It generally doesn't take very long, particularly if you don't have a concurrent claim with SSI component. So, I mean, ballpark would say within a month, but you can't really, there's all those wild cards. Like, is the person who presses the button on vacation? You know what I mean? So, all that.